Hi, welcome to this webinar that will give you some helpful tips on how to use your distance learning kit. I'm Dr. Ivor Weiner, and I'm the director of the Family Focus Resource Center and a professor at Cal State University Northridge. I want to introduce the team that's been working very hard to put these kits together, to come up with a great expert advice, and finally to deliver them to you. First, I'd like to thank Victoria Berry, the program manager for Family Focus, for doing a great job assembling the kits and really providing the leadership that we needed to get these kits delivered. Second, I'd like to introduce Dr. Sue Sears, who you will see in just a moment. Dr. Sears is the director of the TLCC, known as the Teaching, Learning, Counseling Consortium, and she is also a professor in the Department of Special Education. The TLCC is really the place, the center, where all the other centers reside, and we work collaboratively under the umbrella of the TLCC to provide affordable services to the community. Dr. Sears provides us leadership, and we really appreciate the TLCC moving forward with this great project. You're also going to meet Dr. Vanessa Goodwin. Dr. Goodwin is the director of the Special Education Literacy Clinic and also a professor in the Department of Special Education. She's going to give you some great tips on how to use some of the items we've given you in terms of helping your child read. And we have Dr. Deborah Butita, who is the director of the Mitchell Family Counseling Clinic. Dr. Butita has really been instrumental in developing a new program with Family Focus that we're really proud of called the Autism Therapy program, which provides low cost, affordable counseling for individuals with autism and their families. And as you know, historically, individuals with autism and their families have often been excluded from counseling. So we're very happy to work with Dr. Butita and the Mitchell Family Counseling Clinic. In addition, the Mitchell Family Counseling Clinic provides low cost, affordable counseling to individuals, families, and they even have some really great groups. So I encourage you to take a look at that as well. Finally, Dr. Wilda Lea Rodriguez is the director of the Book Assessment Library. This center uses school psychology interns, advanced school psychology interns, to provide a very affordable psychoeducational testing. And as many of you know, trying to procure psychoeducational testing is very costly, so a wonderful service. So the Teaching, Learning, Counseling Consortium and all its centers want to say, we know COVID has been tough on our families. We are in unprecedented times, but we want you to know that we're here for you. We're here for you individually as centers, but we're here more importantly, collectively as the center, the Teaching, Learning, Counseling Consortium, to meet your needs and to let you know that, hey, we're going to get through this, and please make these distant learning kits, a fun activity with your children. Enjoy the time with them, and we wish you well.
Hello, everybody. This presentation is going to show you the contents of our distance learning kit and how you can use it at home with your student. My name is Victoria Berry. I'm with the Family Focus Resource Center, and we created these distance learning kits for the families we work with who have children that are in school in distance learning, who have IEPs, and these are some tools that can help you help your child at home to be more successful with distance learning. I'm going to show you the contents of the kit very quickly. The kit contains 2 whiteboards, a whiteboard marker, and this fun little whiteboard eraser, a nameplate for your child's learning area, a pack of crayons so they can decorate that, a glue stick, and some tools for you to use with your child, a sand timer, and some tokens that look like this. They look like little poker chips. And also a squeeze ball, just for fun and for stress relief, and some coloring pages for grown-ups. And to help us with these distance learning kits, we collaborated with the Teaching, Learning, and Counseling Consortium at CSUN, and our faculty members are going to show you how to use the kits. And now I'd like to introduce Sue Sears, who is a professor in special education and part of the Teaching, Learning, and Counseling Consortium.
Hi, Vicki. Thank you so much for including faculty from the College of Education in your webinar, and thank you so much for providing these distance learning kits to members of the community. Vanessa Goodwin and I are going to be talking just a little bit about some of those contents, and we're going to start with the nameplate. So the nameplate is really helpful because it designates a specific area for your student to learn at home. And that can be, it can be a table, it can be a desk if you have a desk. It can really be any flat surface where your student can write and where they can keep things like the things that are in the distance learning kit, the crayons, the pencils, and papers. I would say you might want to consider helping your child or your student personalize that nameplate. So you might want to put stickers on it and keep it as something that's visible for both your student and the rest of your family, so that you can even refer to that area as, say, Anna's learning space. So that's the purpose of the student nameplate. As Vicki mentioned, there are 2 whiteboards in the distance learning kit. One of them we're suggesting you might want to use to provide a schedule for your student. And in fact, schedules are probably just, if not more important, for the adults in that learning environment as they are for the student. So, for example, this might be Anna's schedule, where you list the time and just briefly list what's going to happen. And, you know, the purpose of schedules is really structure. And so that we all know, both the kids and the adult, what's coming next. And it's an opportunity to also say, oh, hey, we finished that particular activity. This one is a written schedule, but you can also use pictures. And this is an example of a picture schedule. Be sure when you do your schedule to put in breaks, because breaks are really important. The picture schedule even has a bathroom break noted. But breaks for lunch, for snacks, for just getting the wiggles out are really important. And it might be a time to think about movement. So none of us like to sit for very long. Kids don't like to sit for, age differs, but, when you're talking about little kids, you're talking about 5 to 10, 15 minutes at the most, and they need to get up and they need to walk around. They need to change their activity. They may want to use that as an opportunity to use a squeeze ball to relieve some of the stress, but I don't think we'd restrict it just to when they're up moving around, but it's a really good thing for them to hang on to and use as stress reduction while they're doing some of their schoolwork. And Vanessa Goodwin is going to talk about the use of the whiteboards for instruction.
So we included a second whiteboard specifically so you can have your schedule throughout your lesson, but also use one as a teaching tool. For very young children, the whiteboard could be used to copy or trace letters or numbers. It's also something you can use to practice sequencing. For older children, we want to use that whiteboard to support writing. So for example, you could use something called sentence starters. If your child has difficulty coming up with their ideas, with generating those ideas, we want to give them a little boost so that we can get them there. I'm going to briefly show you an example of a sentence starter now. This is an example for older children, but you can see in this case, they've divided it by 2 different topics, and they've given just the beginning of the sentence. This can be modified for younger children as well. Additionally, to support writing, If your child, again, has difficulty generating their ideas, you might scribe for them. And what that means is as they're coming up with those ideas, you're the person to physically write it out on the whiteboard, which they can then later use during the writing process, and you can capture those good ideas. Another idea for writing generation is to use your whiteboard as a brainstorm page. If your child has to come up with several ideas regarding a specific topic, one way to start is just to come up with anything that is associated with that topic. When you brainstorm, every answer is a right answer. On a second step, we would go through and maybe eliminate some items and prioritize others. And let me just show you briefly what a brainstorm map might look like on a whiteboard. Here you can see that the main topic is in the center. And from there, we have some primary topics. And from there, we splinter off into details or evidence from the text that they would use in their writing. I think that's it.
We also included a sand timer. And the sand timer can be used in a variety of ways. It can signal the beginning and the ending of a short break or a transition to a different activity. So for example, you might say something like, when the sand is all gone from the top of the timer into the bottom of the timer, we're going to put away our crayons. Or when the sand is all gone from the top of the timer to the bottom of the timer, we're going to take out our math folder. So the idea of the sand timer is not to time an activity or to encourage students or children to rush through an activity, but rather to provide some support and some structure, and in particular, I think, to help with those what can be difficult transition moments.
And then finally, we've also included some tokens. Motivation is so difficult. And as Sue mentioned, your students are sitting for long durations. So how do we motivate them? Obviously, we want to use immediate motivators, such as praise or, a fun snack or a tangible as that's appropriate. But we also want to motivate students in a bigger picture way. So when we are working for any duration of time, students might earn tokens for along any point of the lesson, and then exchange those tokens at a later time for a larger reward. I recommend preferred activities. It's something that gets away from tangibles. It really helps encourage students to learn a behavior, which is setting breaks for themselves and motivating themselves toward something that they want to do. So you will want to be very systematic in when it is you exchange these tokens for a prize. For younger children, I would recommend we do it at the conclusion of the lesson. For older children, it might be something you do every other day or even once a week for larger prizes.
Thank you both. I think the last couple of items in the distance learning kit are to help with paying attention and for relieving stress. So we have these cute little happy squeezy balls, and the student can hold on to this. It might help them listen, help them relieve stress during the lesson. We also included a couple of pages of coloring pages for grown-ups, and that's to help the parent. It can be very helpful to sit and just sort of color, maybe while you're sitting near your child or listening to them in school, or if you just need a break throughout the day. We recommend those, and parents really seem to enjoy them. Well, that concludes the discussion of our distance learning kit. I'd like to thank Dr. Sears and Dr. Goodwin from the CSUN Teaching, Learning, and Counseling Consortium for walking us through these great ideas for helping our kids learn at home. Thank you.
Thank you.